Hey guys, and welcome to the Wheel to Wheel Hotlap this week, brought to you by Hybrid Ag. I'm your Hotlap host Viper's Fang, and this week we're heading to Japan. That's right, we're heading to the land of the rising sun, and we are going to Suzuka. That's right, it's going to be a Japanese round in the Group 3 cars with 2 races this week. But before we talk about those races, I'm going to throw it over to our Hotlap guest this week, Dodgy, and he's going to show us the way around the Suzuka layout in the Group 3 cars.
Yeah, thanks, Viper. Welcome, punters, to the non-alien, not quite so wheel-to-wheel hot lap this week at Suzuka. We are due for a wet week here at Suzuka, but I am not so silly as to try and show you a lap in the wet. We're going to get after this and do a lap in the dry just to show you a lap more for consistency rather than speed. That's my excuse and I'm sticking to it. So hammering down the straight here at Suzuka, we are going to look for the road on the left here that's coming on for our braking marker, that or the 50. You can leave it a little bit later here. You don't have to severely kill your brake pads at this corner. Just a nice stab at the brake to check you up a little. Change back a gear straight away at the 50. Then we're going to go through another 2. One gear just before the apex of the first apex, and I drop it down to second before the second. What that's going to achieve me is cut in nice and tight at this second apex, floor it early, get it out wide, and then give you the chance to move over wide here again to enter the S's. With the AMG, it is a bit understeery, this beast, at the moment, I find, after all the updates. So I tend to give the brakes just a lightest of touches, just a little tap feather at just before each of the apexes of the S's, and that gets my nose turned in there. Ride those curbs and get it all around. Out wide for this one to get you through on a nice angle. I usually now drop it back to second to make me hug this curb. Keeps me on the wide line to floor it up here. You do have to feather it just a little, otherwise you're going to end up in the sand. You're going to be building castles galore. So we're heading into the Degnas now. What we're searching for here is somewhere between that light post and the signpost and the 50 mark. You can leave it as late as the 50. It will be a bit of an upset going through in some cars. I tend to brake a little earlier in the AMG. What that gives me time to do is get over far enough and turn in a little bit later so that I'm not mounting the curb too much here. You can center this curb, but it does tend to upset the car and doesn't let you get onto the throttle as early as you could if you don't hit it. So just a slight one on the edge, and then we're looking for just before the end of the curb here. You can center this bottom one and then go out wide onto the curb at the far side. If you do go onto the far side, just make sure you center it and mount it. It'll give you a lot more power to the ground if you've got the tyres on the green and the black rather than the red and white. So coming into the hairpin, what we're looking here at the hairpin for is the end of the curb. I do not brake at the end of the curb. I give it about half to a full car length after the curb to brake. Especially in the AMG, it does have a good set of anchors on it. But also, this is a pretty heavy braking zone, this one. Make sure you've given yourself time to straighten those wheels. Otherwise, you are going to be all over the shop. If you cut it too far on the right and hit that grass, then you're going to be a passenger through the hairpin. It's going to shoot you straight across the hairpin, possibly wipe out anyone that's on it. It's a fun time for all, trust me. I've done it many a time. So the trick with the AMG here is to not go around that hairpin on the brakes. Get all your braking done before. If you can use a little bit of power through the corner, it will give you better power to the ground when you go to accelerate out of it. So here we go, into the hairpin. So the braking is all over, power's on, and then power down. But as you can see, I pushed out a bit there and feathered just a little. So around here, just let the car take its natural course so as not to burn the tyres, unless of course you got traffic, then you don't want to let them up the inside. Coming into spoon, we're looking for that track here. We'll go a bit closer. That track right there on the right, that's about my braking marker thereabouts. Now I want to go down 2 gears before the apex ahead of me, and then over at the exit of the corner we've got the curb on the right. I want to be down to second by about there. What that's going to achieve me is a nice tight tuck in on the left here. It'll get me on the throttle early to go out wide and blast it up the straight. So this is a great straight for trying to get some slip. The only problem is if you're taking slip and you try to go up the inside, you are going to be in no position for the coming corner. So on the inside here, if you're trying to overtake, you are going to probably have to use a little bit of brake. If you're in the first couple of laps, you won't have to brake at all. If you're on tyres that are starting to get a bit worn, you're going to have to feather. So when I say feather, all I mean is literally a 1 centimetre lift. You don't have to lift your foot right off the accelerator. You can still have a bit of power on there, and you only need to do it for about a second. But you want to start turning in at about that 50, and you want to aim your right tyres for that curb, so your left is taking the grass. That'll get you right around at full speed and throw you out. Coming into Casio, I'm looking for the 100 marker in the AMG, maybe a little bit before it. I used to go through Casio in second. Again, after all the updates, I seem to be going through in first now. And I'll give it a little stab in the middle, and you can mount these curbs just like that. Give it a stab out. Now, a little trick for getting out of here. If you are on the curb too early and you gas it, you're going to end up in the fence on the left. If you ride that curb and just get over it too much into the green at the apex there and gas it, you're going to end up in the pointy end of the fence at pit straight. So you've got to sort of just stay to the left of the curb, and you can plant it all the way through. And there you have it, our not so hot, let's say, our consistency lap of Suzuka circuit. I hope to see all you guys on track on Sunday. Have a ball. Catch us later.
Well, thanks for that, Dodgy. We appreciate everybody's time and efforts in doing these hot laps, and Dodgy is no exception. Great lap there around Suzuka, and we are going to have a fun round this week. We've got 2 races this week, but the big talking point is the tyre requirements. So this week, we have 2 different sets of tyre requirements for the 2 different time slots. If you're racing in the 5:30 time slot, you have no tyre requirements for the first race. And for the second race, you have softs and mediums available. So the first race is going to be a 7-lap race, and then the second race is going to be a 19-lap race. But for the 7:30 time slot, mediums are only available. Mediums and softs will be available for the second race. Now this is an interesting development. We haven't had this before in wheel to wheel that I can remember. So it's going to throw some really interesting and diverse strategies into the mix. Now, all this could be thrown out the window if the wet tyres come into play and the rain comes down. So it's going to be a super interesting round with lots of strategy and lots of different results. It's going to throw some curveballs at us. It's going to throw some different results. It's going to be interesting, and it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, you guys know what to do. You guys know where to find it. 5:30. Stick around for the 7:30 race. You know what we're going to do. We're going to go wheel to wheel. I'm going to love it. You're going to love it. Let's get some.